Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Tuesday, November 17th, 2020, and I'd like to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. I really do appreciate it. All right, guys, well, in this video, I am going to read you an article that I came across by way of a good friend of the channel and Class A subscriber. Ziggy Dan, who subscribes to many of the research channels and is an excellent presenter of videos on his own, very well produced videos, I might add, on some very interesting things that have to do with the nubs everywhere. and some really well produced videos. You should check him out. Ziggy Dan only has 400 subscribers. He should have a lot more. He does some pretty excellent work himself, and he's always looking at stuff. He's always searching stuff out, and he's a great subscriber. He's always suggesting things, and I started to look into what he had suggested, and I came across this absurd article in National Geographic. And just to demonstrate here in the 21st century how things have degraded in the field of archaeology and anthropology is that, here we have National Geographic, well known publication. It puts out this just absurd article with its, omissions and ineptitude and misinformation, etc. And this is the kind of thing that I specialize in on my channel. I read these articles and sort of break them down to show, what exactly is wrong with these things. So, in any case, let's take a look at this article here, and we'll discuss a few points about it after we read it here. And they have one picture here, which is kind of curious. I want to see all the pictures. I want to see, the complete skeleton of this supposed giant. So, this is the giant's tibia or shin bone compared with that of a normal Roman male of the same period. Okay, so they're doing a comparison of the same period as opposed to comparing him to us now. So, there's a big difference, but they often use these arguments. Oh, well, these people weren't so tall. In fact, that they would categorize this guy as this. He was dug up here in the Americas here. They would say, it's no big deal. He's only 6'8". We have 6'8" people all over the place over here. So they wouldn't make a big deal out of it. You know, based on this comparison of then with now. But if you want to do the comparison of back then, and it would be people of extraordinary stature. So this is a point I make on my channel too. But it's there. They have like both sides of the argument there, because when they want to minimize it, they'll do a comparison to our time, and if they want to show it like this, doing it here, comparing it, then this is legitimate comparison, comparing it with the people back then. That's what you want to hear, that's what you want to see. But when they do these comparisons with us by saying, minimizing it, well, it's disingenuous. It's specious reasoning. Ancient Roman giant found, oldest complete skeleton with gigantism. So this is what they're pushing in the 21st century. It seems that every single skeleton that's dug up has gigantism or acromegaly. But we're going to talk about that. Let's read this article here, and then we'll talk about it, okay? It's no tall tale. The first complete ancient skeleton of a person with gigantism has been discovered near Rome, a new study says. And this is in 2012, so you can barely see it here. It's just so light down there. I wonder why. Always trying to manipulate us somehow. Okay, so at 6 feet 8 inches, 202 centimeters tall, the man would have been a giant in 3rd century AD Rome, which is a point I make all the time. Anybody who was before 1800, anybody lived before 1800, who would be 6 foot or better, would be somebody of unusual stature based on the average heights of that time period. Okay, going forward in time, we'll talk about that anyway. But let's get through this piece of crap here. Okay, man would have been a giant in 3rd century AD Rome, where men average about 5.5 feet, 167 centimeters, which would be about right. By contrast, today's tallest man measures 8 feet 3 inches. Okay, so that's somebody with this gigantism, as they say. 251 centimeters. Finding such skeletons is rare because gigantism itself is extremely rare. Today, affecting about 3 people in a million worldwide. The condition begins in childhood when a malfunctioning pituitary gland causes abnormal growth. 2 partial skeletons, one from Poland and another from Egypt, have previously been identified as quote unquote probable cases of gigantism. But the Roman specimen is the first clear case from the ancient past. Study leader Simona Minozzi, a paleopathologist at Italy's University of Pisa, said by email. Okay, he's got to say that. He's got to say it. Just like in all of these modern excavations that are done, where they find these unusually large skeletons, it seems that every one that they dig up, but unusually large, has to be suffering from either gigantism or acromegaly, which is extremely rare today. Just keep that in mind. It's extremely rare today in a population of 7 billion people on the planet, as they estimate, or maybe more. Okay, so it was only during at the time. Okay, let me get this straight here. Piecing together a giant. The unusual skeleton was found in 1991 during excavation at an acropolis in Fidense, a, a territory indirectly managed by Rome. At the time, the archaeological superintendents of Rome, which led the project, noted that the man's tomb was abnormally long. It was only during a later anthropological examination, though, that the bones were found to be unusual. Shortly thereafter, they were sent to Minozzi's group for further analysis. To find out if the skeleton had gigantism, the team examined the bones and found evidence of skull damage consistent with a pituitary tumor, which disrupts the pituitary gland, causing it to overproduce human growth hormone. Other findings, such as disproportionately long limbs and evidence that the bones were still growing even in early adulthood, support the gigantism diagnosis, according to the study published October 2nd in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism. His early demise, like between 16 and 20, might also point to gigantism, which is associated with cardiovascular disease and respiratory problems, said Minozzi. So these people are sickly. Okay, they're not in good health, and they wouldn't be doing anything too extreme, I would imagine, in such poor health. Who emphasized that the cause of death remains unknown. A giant of the stage, Charlotte Roberts, a bioarchaeologist at the UK's Durham University, said she's certainly convinced with the diagnosis of gigantism. She's certainly convinced with the diagnosis of gigantism, but I'm not. You're saying that you examined this ancient skull and found damage to the skull that would be in accordance with pituitary tumor. How could that be proven? That's complete speculation. Complete speculation. And who's to say that the skull is so old that the damage could have occurred some other way? How do you know that? They don't know that. It's ridiculous. You can't, but you'd like to know more. You can't just study disease. You have to look at the wider impact of how people function in society and whether they were treated any differently, Roberts said. Well, back on one of the videos on my channel, a couple of videos on my channel, I mentioned the book God, Graves, and Scholars by C.W. Saram. Okay, one of the first books to bring to the public archaeology on any scale. He's talking about Pompeii and how they found at Pompeii the shell of the ash, concretized ash on the bodies of these people formed these sort of like gruesome type statues and whatever it is. They found this guy, according to C.W. Serrano, is like 8 feet tall in Pompeii, supposedly carrying both of his children in his arms, running away or whatever it is. Certainly wasn't suffering from gigantism, like I say, with respiratory problems, running with his children in his arms there. Okay, so in any case, an 8 foot guy in Pompeii. So, I'm not mentioning that here or anything because he was an ancient, large guy that was found in archaeology. And, perfect evidence of it at Pompeii with the shell of this guy there. How can you deny it? You don't have to worry about the skeleton disintegrating or anything like that or being in one piece. You get the whole figure of the guy in stone, in ash, concretized ash. Okay, so she wants to know about the sociological things to do with the giant. Goods buried with the body, for example, can offer hints to a person's role in life and how they were treated in their community. The Roman giant, though, was found with no funerary artifacts. Study leader Minozzi said, and she added his burial was typical of the time, suggesting he was included as part of a society. Okay, so he's buried without any artifacts. So many of the giants that we heard about buried in the mounds in the Americas and elsewhere, and these vaults and everything else. Okay, were buried with no artifacts either, sometimes with nothing. Okay, but obviously had to be revered people because the majority of the people were completely cremated, 100%. Okay, so even if there were no grave goods or whatever it is, what does that mean? Maybe the person desired not to be buried with any grave goods. This shows you how it's all speculation here. Okay, saying it's typical of the time. Maybe they get the time wrong as well. We know nothing about the role or presence of giants in the Roman world. I just mentioned one about there being in Pompeii. You discussed that there, Smarty Pants, she said. Other than the fact that the 2nd century AD Emperor Maximinus Thrax was described in literature as a human mountain, and this is often mentioned by giant researchers and all this kind of stuff. The guy was a huge guy, like 8 feet tall as well, but didn't seem to be suffering from much. He was a big guy. He was wielding a sword and busy chopping off people's heads. Not suffering from any respiratory problems or anything like that. Minozzi noted that the Imperial Roman High Society developed a pronounced taste for entertainers with evident physical malformations such as hunchbacks and dwarfs. So we can assume that even a giant generated enough interest and curiosity. Here is like a rabbit hole for you to go down that they're supplying for you to hear, to think about it in a different way and get your mind off any evidence of real giants being in the past. It doesn't matter whether it's real or not. In this mention here about how the Romans would appreciate this guy as a freak or whatever it is and had him hanging around for entertainment purposes or whatever it is. Okay, that's pure speculation as well. And beside the fact that this is just misleading and getting you to think in ways that don't seem, germane to the whole conversation here. Okay, and trying to take you and giving you these other explanations which sound pretty good on the surface, but they're specious, completely specious and speculative. Okay. Long illnesses. Okay, so long illnesses. They're busy entertaining with these long illnesses and everything. Oh, come on. Whatever the Romans giants lot in life, the information be gleaned. Well, see here they say, whatever it is, whatever the Roman giants lot in life, the information be gleaned after his death might someday further science. Normally, a doctor will be looking at a patient with a disease over short term span. Durham University, Roberts said, we've been able to look at skeletons from archaeological sites that are thousands of years old. You can start looking at trends of how diseases have changed in frequency over time. If by studying ancient remains we can teach the living and help them plan for the future, she said, that's a good thing. Oh, isn't it good? Ooh, loving kisses to everybody. Okay, so this is a piece of crap article. I want to see the rest of the pictures of this thing, first of all. They talked about all kinds of different things. They didn't prove anything. Pure speculation on so many parts here, okay? All sorts of assumptions and omissions here of the pertinent facts and whatnot. Okay, so what is gigantism anyway? Okay, so they say it's so rare, so extremely rare, even in today's population, so one in so many million, whatever it is. Okay, so what was the population at the time that this person allegedly lived? When they say that this person allegedly lived, so let's take a look at that. Okay, was it 7 billion today? So that's the current statistics. Okay, so what was the estimated human population back then in 1 AD? Okay, let's go by that. Okay, 300 million, 300 million, 231 million. These are averages from people who research these things and speculate on these things, all the way down to from 150 million all the way up to 330 million, it seems. Okay, to me. That's what it seems like here. Okay, in this. Okay, estimates of historical world population. So, how rare would it be then? Okay, in a population of 150 million. How rare? It's like finding leprechauns. Okay, that's how rare it would be. All right. So, but every single giant skeleton they dig up either has gigantism or acromegaly. Does that make any sense to anybody? Well, it certainly doesn't make any sense to me, and it sounds like a bunch of effing BS. All right. You can't say every giant skeleton that's dug up is suffering from acromegaly and gigantism. If it's so rare, you have to go by. Well, they're happy to go by. Well, we'll compare it to skeletal, piece of the skeleton of this giant to person who, or average person who lived at that time. Okay, so let's do the comparison of how rare gigantism is by present day standards and apply them to standards back then. Okay, so how rare would it be to find somebody suffering from gigantism in a worldwide population of 150 million? Okay, think about it. Okay, they're full of crap. Okay, because every single time they dig up one of these skeletons, they say it's acromegaly and gigantism. Oh yeah, super rare disease, but every single one of these has gigantism and acromegaly. I'm sorry, sorry. You get a no pass on that one, okay, shitheads? All right, just knock it off, all right? So, look, we've talked about human height on my channel, the history of human height, okay? So, according to them, and, they could just throw out all their assumptions and everything based on a simple thing because they apply this science here that's applied by people who study, growth and height, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this is taken from mainstream right here. Okay, so the reason why, all the reasons why people, have got, our, race, our species has increased in height since 1800, some 10 centimeters, which is nothing. Okay, all right, it says the world average height at 5.79, 5 foot, okay, 5 feet, 0.79 inches, but roughly 5'8" is average worldwide height today. All right, no 6 footers in there. Okay, little short guys like me. That's my height. Okay. So let's read what it says here again on my channel here for all my new subscribers. In the hundreds of years since the mid 19th century, the average human height in industrialized countries has increased by up to 10 centimeters, 3.9 inches. Okay, so think about it. If worldwide average height is 5'8", what was average height 150 years ago? Okay, three, 3.3 to 3.5. Okay, we've gone over it on his channel. It's right there below us here, below these paragraphs here, and a few paragraphs later here. I've gone through it, but I don't want to go through this again completely. But I just want to read you what it says here. Okay, pay attention to this. However, these increases appear to have largely leveled off. And there's a problem with that, okay? Because all the science that pertains to us getting bigger says that we should keep on growing. There's no reason for it to level off, okay? So if it's leveling off, there's some other factor, some other unseen factor that's involved in this. I know exactly what it is. It's gravity, but they don't know that, okay? But besides the fact that it's level off throws all their theories about why we're getting bigger out the window, okay? Because there's no reason why shouldn't continue to grow. All right, by judging by their own standards, okay, and they can't figure this out. In other studies that I've looked at, they can't figure this out. They speculate on a lot of different things, gravity being one of them. Okay, so look, all right, you can, here in Wikipedia, here, yeah, we're going to tell you this right here, which pretty much negates all our hypothesis about, why we're getting bigger and all this kind of stuff. But hey, we're going to go ahead and tell you about why we're getting bigger anyway. Despite the fact that it's all level off, you can pretty much throw it all in the garbage. All right, but we're gonna tell you all about it anyway, and so because that's all we got. You know what I mean? Hey, you want what, meatballs and spaghetti? That's what we got. I want what they're eating over there. Nah, you're gonna eat meatballs and spaghetti. That's it. Don't don't pay attention to them over there. Just eat your freaking meatballs. All right. So look. All right, you can throw and they base all the science on it when they're looking at these giants and all, applying it to them because nobody in the past should be of extreme height based on average height and growth theory. All right, so 6'8" is if it was dug up here in the Americas to say it was no big deal, but here they're like wow because they're basing it on average height population there. And by the way, they say right here, if you look right over here, see where the cursor is here, okay? In the 18th and 19th centuries, people in Europe of European descent in North America were far taller than those in Europe and were the tallest in the world. Isn't that very odd, okay? Something going on with the electromagnetic field which generates gravity in those areas in North America? Possibly. The original indigenous population of Plains Native Americans was also among the tallest populations of the world at the time. Isn't that curious? Right next to the Ohio Valley there and the Mississippi River, just west of the Mississippi River. All these Plains Native American Indians, okay, in the 18th and 19th century were really, really big, which seems to be where the Adena and Hopewell were, before them. Okay? Isn't that a curious thing there? They don't mention that here, but I'm mentioning it because that's the reality of it. Okay? Isn't that curious? All right, so look, the point is here, all right, and look, here, let's look at this guy again, okay? All right, the chief of the Fiji Islands. Of course, I'm going to say, yeah, well, he looks like he's suffering from acromegaly or whatever it is. This is what they'll say about this guy here. Okay, look, the people these weird skeleton types with all these weird skull types and everything, I'm sure they were big, ugly, mother effers. Okay, and if you were to look at them, and maybe not so pretty, although these guys look pretty normal-ish here. Okay, but look how big this guy is. Okay, is he suffering? Like, he's having respiratory problems and everything. This guy's like, these are, fierce warrior type guys and everything. And this guy looks like he could snap this 6 foot guy in half. Okay, look how big this guy is. Okay, he's not suffering from acromegaly and all that kind of stuff. And look at the Watusi guy. Okay, look, here's the son. This is the prince. Okay, gonna go see his dad right now. They're bringing back a poor leopard that got killed. Look at his dad. Okay, there's his dad, the king. And look at the son is as big as these are the average size guys who brought this leopard in. The son is almost as big as these guys. Okay? And what are you talking about? You know, are you talking about congenital gigantism with these people, these Watusi people? Is that what they have? Look, their skulls are elongated. All right? What more evidence do you need? All right? And they just happen to live. This is the compound that they live in. And they don't live with the rest of the tribe of the average size people. Okay, the Tutsi people. That's who these guys are that brought in this leopard, this poor leopard over here, you know. And then the prince goes up to running up to see his dad there, who's a giant guy. Okay. Running to see his father. Yeah, suffering from that respiratory problems, I guess. Huh? Look, he's as big as the rest of these guys. Okay, look. Stop listening to this BS. All right, this is what they're doing to you, leading you down all kinds of rabbit holes. Look, they dig up that kid. Like, say that kid passed away right now, and they bury him in the middle of the jungle. 1,000 years later, some researchers dig that kid up or whatever it is. They'll say, "Oh, it's an adult, but he's odd," you know, and they prove it. They'll say, "Well, you know, the sutures in it." How do we know how their skeletal? You know, how their skeletons developed or whatever. Do we know about the physiology and the anatomy of the giants 100%? We know about our own. Okay, I'm telling you, they keep making these mistakes. They're digging up the children of these giants or whatever with these big giant molars in their head, and they're thinking that they're adults, and they're not adults. They think they're adult humans, you know, like us, buried there or whatever, and they're not. Okay, they're people like, look, these are the people that live today, folks, in a situation just like the Adina and the Hopewell. Okay, what more proof do you need? What are you trying to say? These people have congenital gigantism, that every single one of them, the women, the children, everything, from generation to generation to generation, are all born with gigantism, whatever. They're running around the jungle with spears and swords and stuff like that. And, you know, we're supposed to believe all of this stuff. You know, look, there's not even enough evidence to say. Do we know about the rest of this guy's family? Okay, usually people with gigantism are just an oddball freak thing that happened to them. This damage to the skull, they say, is it conclusive? Does it all damage to all skulls that are near pituitary glands to result in gigantism? I mean, it's so rare and everything, and the populations back then and everything. Do you really buy this bullshit story here? Okay, by National Geographic. Okay, who's running their show over there? Okay, and this is the only pictures you got of this fantastic giant guy. He's 6'8". I'm definitely a giant for his time and all that kind of stuff. If that's the time they lived at, and if he's really an adult giant, maybe this is one of the children. They're saying he's young. Okay, they're making that mistake. I guarantee you. And this giant isn't even from the time they say it is. Okay, because they don't know. And these things were built on top of these civilization upon civilization, built on top of other civilizations. They don't know what the time period. They can't. It's very difficult to discern and to delineate. Okay, so look, it just, I'm just admonishing the people who subscribe to my channel. They come across articles like this or whatever it is. Really, are they asking any of these questions? Or what are the assumptions that they're making based on the human height there, which is already could throw all their theories out the window. We stop growing and they don't know why. There's no reason for it, according to their theories and everything. Just keep on growing and growing and growing. We're only 5.79. That's the average height for the world. Well, we haven't grown that much. Not really that tall. What's going on? Okay, so you're telling me every single one that's dug up anywhere? We talked about so many of these on this channel here, even modern day days. So either say that they have gigantism or acromegaly. That's so rare. And think about how far going back in the past with the worldwide population. So it's rare, right? So how rare would it be in these ultra low populations or whatnot? Okay, it's like finding a leprechaun, a real one, a real live leprechaun. Okay. Well, I don't know anybody who's found a real live leprechaun. Not yet. Okay. But this would be like finding one or somebody with gigantism. Yet every giant skeleton that's dug up has gigantism or acromegaly, according to them, every single time. At least in the 21st century here, when you have to stop brainstorming because of all this political bullshit going on, and who's controlling who and what, and who wants to control the past and everything else. Okay, so think about it a little bit. All right, think about these things that I'm telling you. All right, maybe old Bugcat isn't so wrong with his ideas about things. All right, I've done a tremendous amount of research into this on the channel. You're not going to hear this kind of stuff anywhere else on YouTube. All right, think about it. You're getting the real straight dope here, guys. Okay, don't fall for all that other junk. All right, I don't care about Coast to Coast and George Norton and all the characters that come on there. Okay, making millions of bucks, telling you lies. Okay, and the government, the state approved, textbook stuff. You know, they'd be happy to tell you anything, and it's the ends that justify the means. So they'd be happy to lie to you about and omit all kinds of things, and not take into consideration many other things. Okay, and many other possibilities since you don't know, right? Okay, you're supposed to be a scientist, supposed to be open minded. Okay. The evidence is right there, but instead of examining what this giant really could be all about, they're wasting all of this time trying to prove the acromegaly and gigantism. You understand where all this time and energy and money is being wasted on this to prove this based on this faulty science of growth, okay, and height? It's faulty, folks. So, look. Or I'm telling you right now, it just seems rather odd to me that every time a skeleton is dug up, they say it has gigantism or acromegaly, and it's so extremely rare, and back in those populations it would be even more rare. Okay? How could that possibly be? It doesn't jive up, and it smells bad. All right? So that's all I'm telling you. Okay? So anyway, think about it, guys. I thought I'd bring this video to you and break down this article for you, which is just an absolute piece of crap. All right, it tells you nothing, explains nothing. Okay, proves nothing. All right, it's like you heard about the ice age. Everybody says ice age, ice age, ice age, ice age. Okay, that's an incomplete statement in itself. Okay. The Ice Age is a theory. It's called the Ice Age theory. 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 That's what they're leaving out. When you were in school, you learned about the Ice Age. You didn't learn about the Ice Age theory. Okay? Because they don't want you to know it's a theory. They want you to think it's a fact. And it's not. They thought all this time because of the Ice Age about the Bering Strait and the crossings that were going on there. Unfortunately, they could never dig up any of the people and animals that were crossing over the bridge at the time that they thought it was going to be, so they gave up. And they said they came by boat. And if William Bligh could navigate a boat through open water some 4,000 something nautical miles in a 23-foot boat, okay? And these cavemen could come by boat to the Americas. Anybody could come by boat to the Americas at any time in the past. This whole thing that Christopher Columbus was the one who discovered America is a fairy tale. Complete fairy tale. All part of the rearranged past for our benefit. Because we can't handle the truth. See? All right, guys. Anyway, if you like the video, please do hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, please do subscribe because we're going to talk about some real stuff on this channel, okay? Not a bunch of BS. That's very entertaining, by the way. So BS is very entertaining, but that's what it is. It's a con job. It's BS. It's a rabbit hole. Giants and cannibalism and Nephilim and all rabbit holes. Okay, we're never going to get to the truth of the past as long as we pursue those avenues. Okay, are they remote possibilities? Yes, extremely remote. Let's get all the stuff that we can know about first, then we can discuss that later on. Let's just get through the ages and epics of the giants and through all the misinformation and psyops that are going on, just like this piece of shit article from National Geographic, right? All right, guys, anyway, Bugcat7 signing out. Peace.